So this problem looks pretty scary because it has a bunch of vocabulary terms you haven't quite seen this school year. But what I want to show you is that it doesn't matter if you know the vocabulary terms or not. You can solve problems using dimensional analysis when you start to use the concept of ratios in your problem. So as I look at this problem, I'm going to try really hard to just figure out what the give and want ratios are. Here's the problem to start. One formula unit of aluminum sulfate has 5 ions. Ooh, that sounds like a ratio, doesn't it? One formula unit has 5 ions. That sounds like a ratio, and I'm going to put that one in my back pocket. And 1 mole of any substance has 6.02 times 10 to the 23 formula units. That also sounds like a ratio. 1 mole has 6.02 times 10 to the 23 formula units. I'm going to put that one in my back pocket. Just through reading comprehension skills, I can pick out ratios from a problem even if I have no idea what a formula unit or an ion is. The problem continues on. Calculate the number of ions in 3.5 moles of aluminum sulfate. Just that last sentence, I am able to easily pick out the W, what I want, the number of ions. And the given usually follows the want. Therefore, 3.5 moles is a good assumption of the given. Now, earlier I had mentioned that through this very first sentence, we can pick out 2 ratios. One formula unit has 5 ions, so I'm going to go ahead and list that down. And here's a little tip. I tend to abbreviate the term formula units as FUN, F-U-N. I don't like to abbreviate it as F-U because that's not very nice. So formula units, FUN, is what we will abbreviate formula units as. Also, I have 1 mole has 6.02 times 10 to the 23 formula units. So I'm going to list that down as a ratio. Now, if you need to, remember, you can always hit that rewind button. You can always watch that over again because, yes, this is confusing with all these vocabulary terms you've never heard of before. But when you watch it over again, which is the beauty of these video lessons, it might sink in a little bit better of how I was able to take these 2 statements and turn them into ratios. Now, in any dimensional analysis problem, I always want to watch my pathway. I'm trying to create a path that goes from moles to ions, and this ratio here will take me from moles to formula units. And this pathway will take, this stepping stone will help me to go from formula units to ions, which is what I want. So I just took this very complicated 2 sentences and I translated it into a dimensional analysis problem, and now I can solve it like every other problem. I can watch my units, and if you've never heard of moles before, that's okay. You can still solve the problem by making sure those units cancel out diagonally. Here's that 1 mole piece in the bottom. The other side of the ratio is a 6.02 times 10 to the 23 formula units, so let's put that at the top. And then we can take the 1 formula unit and put it at the bottom, and 5 ions at the top. When we put this in the calculator, I notice there's a bunch of 1s in the denominators, so all I really have to do is multiply across the top. I can type in 3.5 times 6.02, hit that EE button, 23, times 5, and then I can round my answer to 2 sig figs. We always round our answer to the number of sig figs in our given. And I always make sure that my units cancel out diagonally. And my final answer is 1.1 times 10 to the 25. For those of you who initially just wrote down 1.1, take a look at the right side of their calculator. In a very tiny font size, you'll see times 10 to the 25. You need to include that as well. That is part of the answer. This is a very, very typical problem you would solve in this class. The unit that you cover this in is formula stoichiometry, and so you are going to be doing this later on in the school year. So this is a great little prequel to that, or preview to that unit Okay, now I want to do an extra little tutorial on how to type this into the calculator because I know some of you guys may have forgotten. If you have 6.02 times 10 to the 23, you just type in your calculator 6.02. You hit that second button, that EE button, and then that will pop up a little E. Even though the button is labeled as EE, you'll only see one E in your calculator. And then 23. Okay, and that's it.